It was a perfectly ordinary morning in Britain, the kind where a weak sun struggles to burn through a stubborn layer of gray cloud. For one Aussie tourist, thousands of miles from the sun-burnt landscapes of home, it was just another day of his English adventure. But something felt odd as he slipped his foot inside. It wasn't a stone or a crumpled sock. It was something else entirely. Reaching into the shoe with his fingers, he intended to scoop out the webbing and be on his way. That was his first mistake. The moment his fingertips brushed against the dense, funnel-like structure, he felt a sharp, piercing sensation on his index finger. The pain was immediate and shocking in its intensity. It wasn't a dull ache. It was a sharp, burning throb that pulsed in time with his own frantic heartbeat. Within minutes, the area around the two tiny puncture marks on his finger began to itch ferociously. First, his finger doubled in size, becoming a stiff, painful sausage that he could barely bend. Then the swelling crept relentlessly across his knuckles and onto the back of his hand. Within an hour, his hand was almost unrecognizable. It had transformed from a normal, functioning appendage into a puffy, swollen club. It looked less like a hand and more like an inflated rubber glove. After the initial panic and a frantic trip for medical help, the identity of the eight-legged stowaway was confirmed. The culprit was a Badumna insignis, more commonly known as the black house spider. Their webs are a key identifying feature. They are not the neat, orderly creations of an orb weaver, but rather a tangled labyrinth of sticky silk with a funnel-like retreat. This is a species that any Australian would recognize. They are common across the continent, often building their messy, funnel-shaped webs in the corners of windows, in sheds, under eaves. This spider is a classic example of a synanthropic species, meaning it thrives in environments that have been modified by humans. Our homes, sheds, and gardens provide the perfect sheltered locations. The venom of the black house spider is not considered life-threatening to humans, unlike that of its more notorious cousin, the funnel web spider. However, that doesn't mean its bite is insignificant. The most immediate symptom is the severe, burning pain at the bite site, which can persist for hours. Following the initial pain, other symptoms typically begin to develop rapidly, but the effects aren't always confined to the bite area. Some people report more systemic symptoms, including nausea, vomiting, profuse sweating, and muscle aches. One of the most concerning aspects of a black house spider bite is the potential for secondary infection. The fangs of the spider are not sterile, and when they puncture the skin they can introduce bacteria. Walking into a British doctor's surgery and declaring, "I think I've been bitten by an Australian spider," is a surefire way to get some attention. For the doctor, it presented a unique diagnostic challenge. Medical professionals in the UK are well versed in treating bee stings, adder bites, and allergic reactions to local flora and fauna. A venomous bite from a creature native to the other side of the globe, however, was well outside the standard curriculum. The treatment was primarily focused on managing the symptoms. He was given strong painkillers to take the edge off the excruciating ache and antihistamines to help combat the swelling and itching. The doctor carefully cleaned the wound and advised him to keep the hand elevated to help reduce the fluid buildup. There was no specific antivenom for a black house spider bite. The intense fear that spiders can provoke, known as arachnophobia, is one of the most common phobias in the world. For many people, the mere sight of a spider, even a harmless one, can trigger a powerful physical and emotional response. The answer may lie deep within our own evolutionary history. The evolutionary preparedness theory suggests that humans are biologically predisposed to fear things that posed a threat to our ancestors. For early humans living in Africa, a venomous spider bite could have been a death sentence. There were no clinics, no painkillers, no antivenoms. Individuals who had a healthy fear of spiders were more likely to survive, reproduce, and pass on their cautious genes. If you find yourself in the unfortunate position of being bitten by a spider, especially one you suspect might be venomous, staying calm is the first and most critical step. Panic increases your heart rate, which can potentially speed up the circulation of venom through your body. If it is safe to do so, try to capture the spider in a jar, or take a clear photo of it. This can be incredibly helpful for medical professionals when it comes to identifying the species and determining the correct treatment. For a bite from a black house spider, the recommended first aid is straightforward. Gently wash the area with soap and water to clean the wound and reduce the risk of infection. Then, apply a cold pack or ice wrapped in a cloth to the bite site. This helps to numb the pain and reduce the swelling. Do not apply a pressure bandage for this type of bite, as it can trap the venom in one place and make the local pain and tissue damage worse. The story of the Aussie tourist and his 8-legged stowaway serves as more than just a shocking tale. It's a powerful and practical lesson for every traveler. The single most important takeaway is breathtakingly simple. Check your shoes, and not just your shoes, but your clothes, your bags, and your luggage. Spiders and other creepy crawlies are masters of hiding. They seek out dark, quiet, undisturbed places to shelter. In the end, our traveler was left with a swollen hand, a good story, and a renewed commitment to vigilance. His experience is a warning written in pain and panic. So the next time you pack for a trip or unpack upon your return, take an extra minute. Shake out your clothes. Tip your shoes upside down and give them a good tap. You will probably find nothing but lint and a forgotten receipt, but on the off chance you disturb an unwanted guest, you'll be profoundly glad you did. A moment of caution is always better